Hey there, I'm Chris Ponick, Certified Public Accountant, Certified Coach, and the host of the Mastering Your Small Business Finances podcast. And I want to welcome you to this new series that I'm doing on this podcast. My intention is to drop one of these additional episodes every Monday while I continue to provide you with the regular Mastering Your Small Business Finances podcast episodes, which will continue to help you take control of and understand your business finances with topics that ultimately impact your bottom line. I have many business owners, accountants, and other high-stress professionals who listen to this podcast, and I want to get more help out there for individuals like you when it comes to mastering your mindset. I'll be taking a few moments each week to touch on topics that many high-stress professionals are dealing with and provide solutions to help you increase your overall well-being. Because I know your time is valuable, just like the Mastering Your Small Business Finances podcast, my goal is to keep these episodes short and straight to the point, but full of useful information to help you succeed in not only your professional life, but your personal life as well. Have you ever had a stretch of time where you really felt productive? Like you were on top of everything, crossed things off of your list, and you are making real progress. And then there are other times when it feels like no matter how much you work, you're still spinning your wheels. What does productivity really mean to you? Do you define it by how much you're doing, how much effort you're putting in, or is it about the actual results that you're achieving? Today we're going to dig into what productivity really is, why so many high achievers struggle with it, and how you can start being more efficient with your time without adding more stress to your life. I'll also share some practical, actionable steps that you can start implementing right away to maximize your productivity. Let's dive in. I'm talking about productivity today because this comes up all the time with my clients. They tell me how stressed and overwhelmed they feel because they're not being productive enough. And yet, they're working long hours, pushing through, and still feeling like it's not enough. Here's what's actually happening. They associate productivity with effort instead of results. They think that if they just work harder, put in more time, and grind out the work, then they'll finally feel productive. When in reality, the harder that they push themselves, the more exhausted they feel, and the less productive they actually become. Does this sound familiar to you? If so, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I also want you to know that there's a much better way to approach productivity. An approach that doesn't involve burnout, stress, or working endless hours. I want to share a different way of thinking about productivity. Think about a time when you finished a big project. That feeling of accomplishment, the satisfaction of crossing it off your list. It's an amazing feeling, isn't it? Now, let's say you spend an entire day working on something, but at the end of the day, you have nothing to show for it. You were busy, you put in the hours, but there were no real results. How would you feel then? I'm guessing something like frustrated, drained, or even defeated. That's probably because real productivity isn't about how many hours you put in. It's about what you create, what you produce, and the results that you generate. Ultimately, when you focus on results rather than effort, you'll actually become more productive in less time. Let me give you an example. I've worked with clients who set aside an entire day to complete a project. And guess what? It takes them the entire day. But when they set a much shorter deadline, like 2 hours instead of 8, they get it done in 2 hours. Why? Because they created urgency. They eliminated distractions. They were focused. This is what you call Parkinson's Law. It's when you allow work to expand to fill the time that you give it. If you allow yourself an entire weekend to do the laundry, it'll take the entire weekend. But if you give yourself 1 hour, you'll be done in an hour. So what if you started applying this to everything that you do? If you'd like to continue listening to the rest of this podcast, I invite you to sign up for my free private podcast, where I do a deeper dive into this topic on the Mastering Your Mindset Moments podcast for high-stress professionals. When you're busy working in a high-stress profession, it's often hard to accomplish what you truly want in your life. This private podcast offers solutions that you can immediately apply to your life so that you can not only achieve your goals, but increase your sense of purpose, satisfaction, and lead a more fulfilling and enjoyable life. You can sign up at financialadventure.com/private to hear about the solutions that I provide on this topic. I'll post links to this and other valuable resources for business owners, accountants, and other high-stress professionals where you're listening to this podcast.